club.
Yeah. Maybe it's interesting first to say that you're now not DJing more at radio but in clubs, and you are a radio coach. You coach new talent.
Or all talent. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's funny because I regularly talk to all the colleagues of mine from radio station that you and I both worked at, and they'll say, "Oh well, I'm not really a customer. I'm too old." Blah blah blah. And when you talk with them, they talk about, okay, I have to do it right because of the rates, listeners' rates, and I have to be careful not to say this or that, blah, blah, blah. And then I talk to them about, but how does it make you feel if you have that in the back of your mind when you're doing a radio show, that you have to take into account what management says, or, you know, what the listeners' rates, or, you know, there's a lot of fear, and it makes it more like a tunnel vision. You don't get more creative when you think that way. When you are in that state of mind, everything becomes very contrived. It becomes very, well, not more creative. Yeah. And when I talk to him, that what's your effect on the listeners' rates? It's you are just a fraction. You don't control marketing. You don't control your own music. You don't have a say in what your competition does. So in a matter of fact, you don't have any control. The only control you have is what you do. Yeah. And they say, oh yeah, right. Yeah, that's a good point. And then I ask them, well, how would that feel with that in the back of your mind? Wouldn't that give a lot more room, a lot more space to do your own creative thing? Yeah. And those are the people who say, you don't have a client in me because I'm too old. Yeah. But that, and that effect is it's a coaching session without them knowing that it's a It doesn't matter. People, new talent, old talent, everyone could use kind of mirror, or, you know, putting things into perspective. If it's me, a coach, or just a good friend.
And isn't that the task of the program manager, to tell you that you don't have to worry about ratings, you don't have to worry about marketing, just do your own thing?
In an ideal world, it would be.
Yeah.
But nowadays, like, program managers are more corporate-like, and although they may be in love with radio, but it's a different skill to bring out the best in people. You know, to really understand how a creative process works. For a lot of people, that is not in their system, and they're more corporate. They're thinking about GRPs, they're thinking about, you know, and in the end of the line, how much listeners are listening, and how marketing works, and they're not really involved in talent management. What do I have to do? What can I do to give my employees, the on-air talents, every space and every chance to develop their creativity and be as effective as they can be on radio? You know? Because their approach is different. Not everyone sees it. It's not a bad thing. But a good program manager would realize that he doesn't have the skills, or he has to bring external expertise to really get that process going, and really bring something to the people who work there, to excite them and to give them space, to motivate them, and not try to control everything. The first thing that happens when you try to control creative people, creative process, is that, you know, it's finished. You're done. Because my experience is that most on-air talents, most DJs are, well, insecure, you know, because it's really personal what you do on the radio. If someone criticizes you and it's your boss, then a few things happen. you think, oh my God, my job is on the line. I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to lose my job.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, I need the money, I need the gig, and it's a rejection of. It feels like a personal rejection, and that's what happens to people who are insecure. They feel it as a personal rejection.
Yeah.
And that you have to be careful for, because people won't take any risk. They won't expand. They won't try. You have to really encourage people
to make mistakes.
To make mistakes.
Yeah.
To make mistakes.
Yeah.
To bring out their personality, their own skills, who they are as a person. That's the only factor that really makes people want to listen.
Yeah. Sometimes for us DJs. We think that our radio show is like an exam at school where we have to score an A or a 10, as we say here in Dutch. But we also know that the best radio shows, when you're going to examine them, you sometimes make mistakes. You said wrong things, but it had a great vibe. It had the right atmosphere. So it's not about perfection in radio.
It's not about, and you know what? I think we as, it's not only about us as DJs, but everyone who really puts their heart in what they are doing. They already set the benchmark somewhere here. We don't need anyone to tell us that we have to do our best, that we have to go for an A every time. We know that because we're passionate about what we're doing.
Yeah.
We are never satisfied. I've never had a radio show and I thought, okay, well, this was it. This was my best. It's never good enough. So we don't need, if you have an on-air talent, which you have to tell every time you need to do your best. If someone's not performing, then that someone is not in the right place. Then that's the indication that you have to make sure that, or that person is not in the right place, right station, or it's not just the right job for that person. You have to be honest about that. You don't have to motivate DJs. If you are passionate, and it doesn't matter which field. Exactly. Same with nurses, doctors, people who waiters. It's not something you learn. It's something that you have in you, and you really. And when you're passionate, you don't need people to tell you need to be better at your job or take
more motivated.
Exactly.
Yeah. For the right way, we have to say that after all those local stations, you've been a national DJ on Radio Veronica FM, you're in FM. Just for the picture.
For the last 16 years,
for people who don't know you, they think, well, what's this guy talking about? He was only on local radio. No, you've been on national radio too. And what's interesting about you, we have the same passion for radio teachers from America. You listen to a lot of Dan O'Day, Randy Michaels. You just let me hear a little thing. What's the thing? Let's start with Dan O'Day. What's the thing you learned from him most?
I learned from everyone. Dan O'Day has always been someone who, because it wasn't available in Holland. There's no one like Dan O'Day, and because it was very clear, and it was very. He was very clear in what he wanted to say, and very practical, and you could use it right away. And Randy Michaels, I just let you listen to a piece, and can you believe it? It's from the 90s. That piece on about programming, about that radio programming. It's not paint by numbers. It's no formula. And
it's an art.
It's an art, and you have to have people, especially program managers, CEOs, who are really confident about themselves and give people the space and not try to control anything. It's not paint by numbers. It's not music research and this is the good song. It's not. You're not a bookkeeper as a music director. And you have to put your heart and soul in it, and you have to give people every opportunity to shine and to develop themselves. And not try to interfere, not to try to control or direct people to a certain point, because it's deadly for creativity to want to have more control.
Yeah.
It's absolutely devastating to creative people, to creative minds.
Yeah.
People get scared.
You just talked about Denode in past tense. That's a comment I hear sometimes from even program managers of national radio stations. I say, well, Denode once said this about it. They say, well, Denode, that was then. It's now 2017. But you and I can imagine, think those things from the 90s and the zeros, they still apply to now.
Exactly. Funny that you say that, because there is the last few years, I didn't really follow Denode. I'm still subscribed to his email, but funny that you brought that up, because the last 2-3 weeks I'm on YouTube. There are some clips from him, and I started listening again. And if you listen closely, that everything he says is what I believe is true. It's the essence. He talks about people. He's talking about passion. Everything he says is about what the starting point must be, and that is that you are aware what you are doing, and that you bring in that the most important thing for radio is the human factor of authenticity. It's the most important thing. That's the thing that binds us as people. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, music is just music, and a DJ is someone who changes a voice.
Yeah.
He funny that he used it as an example that, we're talking like this, but why should I? Oh, wait a minute! I have to be on air now, and I'm talking like this. And it's so funny, because it's true. It's
you put on a voice.
You put on a voice and an act.
Yeah.
As in, oh, now I have to be the DJ, and now I have to talk, say something funny, and it doesn't work that way. What is the thing that really gets to us? What really makes us feel something? That is authenticity. If I am sincere and I tell you something, it doesn't matter how long you talk on the radio, but if it's real and if it's authentic, and if you have a point in what you're saying, and it's coming from you within, then nobody gives a damn how long you talk. It doesn't make sense to say, 20 seconds, that's the max. And it's not about that. It's about what you say and how you say it, and if you mean it. And you can't make mistakes. If I would make a lot of mistakes in a talk, in what I would say, people don't hear the mistake. People forgive you because what you say is real. They don't hear the mistakes. They don't hear that you mispronounce some things, or that they are interested in what you say and how you say it, because it's real. You can't make mistakes. You can't, you can't, it's possible you talk like half an hour. As long as it's sincere, it's real, then people don't, have an idea how long you talk. But if you talk about something and you read it from the paper, or you copy paste something, and it isn't interesting, it isn't you, and it isn't your perspective. It's boring, and people wouldn't immediately say maybe it's what he's saying is not interesting, but he has an annoying voice, or they play music, or they're too they talk too much. People say they talk too much because it's not interesting.
Yeah. That's it. Denode gives a lot of examples from that. I learned so much from him. He says, when you call a friend and you read something interesting in the paper, you're going to tell that friend what you read in the paper. You're not going to read the whole article to him. He's going to hang
It's
up.
your own personal perspective of that. It's your own angle.
Yeah.
It's it's something that did something to you, and what you perceived from it.
Yeah.
And
what's your point of view on it? Make it
exactly. What your angle? Why did it trigger you?
Yeah.
What element, and then you start immediately become passionate about it, and from that passion, people have this internal, I call it the bullshit meter. You know, if you hear someone talk about something, you immediately intuitive, you know, bullshit or not, you know, and you start to zone out. You don't, you know. Mm-hmm.
He talks about something that he doesn't know a shit about, or something like that. Yeah.
And he sounds like it, you know. Did you hear that about this guy? You know, it's about your own perspective. Yeah. It was so. Why does it trigger you? Yeah. About Dan O'Day, I think he is misperceived a lot of times because. People thought, and I did that too. Okay, Dan O'Day has says about writing radio comedy as point 1, 2, 3. It has this, and what I did, and what I thought was, if I apply that system, then I will be successful. That's how it works. Now, it's the essence. It's your essence, and then take those concepts and make them then your own. And you know, but first you have to be in total comfort with who you are. You know, a lot of DJs think, okay, well, a DJ has to be funny, has to have a good voice, has to be interesting, blah blah blah. And then you get all those elements and then apply things, you know, and then you're going to apply, you have to be funny. Well, if you're not really that funny, don't do it. Yeah. But people don't know their own talents, their own skills, because everything you do, if you do something that comes natural, you not tend to think, oh, that's special. Because if you do something natural, it doesn't have any value because I don't have to do anything for it. Yeah. So it can be special. Yeah. It cannot be something that would set me apart from other DJs. It has no value. Yeah. If I can do it like this and I don't have to put in any effort, then everyone can do it. Yeah. And what I see is that when I coach DJs, is that they're not aware of their own skills. But what happens if they hear it, if they believe it, if they become aware of, that's me, that's who defines me as a person. Well, there is no DJ and a person. Yeah. There's only the person. So it's not, you know, I want to become a DJ, what I have to do. It's who am I as a person. Yeah. You bring your personality to your work, or, you know, the studio. There is no separation between those two. And the thing that makes radio, makes the people who are to be considered as most inspiring and most interesting are the people who are themselves. Yeah, that's what Dan and they talked about in one of the seminars. You can easily take someone from the corridors, or how do you call it, someone who works internally at the radio station who is interesting to learn radio skills, than someone from radio to be interesting. Exactly. I couldn't. Yeah. That's a great quote, because it's. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. I totally agree. There's a radio station in Holland. It's called Phonics, and what they do, I think it's brilliant and logical, is that they search for their new on-air talents, for the new DJs. They look for DJs in their audience, in their listeners, and I think it's brilliant, because you have people who are passionate about what they hear. They feel connected to the radio station because it's a radio station that has a lot of passion and vision, and they do it not because they make the money, but because they believe in it. Yeah. So the listeners, they feel attracted to that, and they have those selection days, and they get wonderful DJs who don't know anything about radio skills, or teasing, or GRPs, but you can teach them, not too much. You have to keep their authenticity, but you can teach certain things and make them aware how it works, you know, and. Yeah. But then still keep their authenticity and still keep them interesting. It's brilliant. You get wonderful things. That's. But what you say, it's true. You know?
One more thing about Dan, and then we talk about other stuff. Otherwise, it will look like a commercial for him. But you know, I learned so much from him. One thing he once said was, when I listened to you on the radio for 1 hour and I didn't get to know you a little bit better, that was a wasted hour. People want to get to know each other better. They want to learn from you. They're interested in you. But that can easily become something that can be misunderstood, because then you think, oh, I have to talk about myself all the time. But that's not what he means.
No, that's not. No, and it's exactly. It's funny that you say that, because that's the essence of what he says, and what I didn't get. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I thought it was like paint by numbers. I think I wasn't that in that.
I have to apply it.
Yeah, I have to apply it.
Yeah.
As in, as a kind of paint by numbers. It's 1 to 10, and you have to apply it, and it's not that. It's funny, and I was listening to him, and I was reading some things, and how could I miss that? Because all he says is be yourself, and that he didn't say anything else.
Yeah.
And
funny, make it your own.
It is exactly, but that's the essence that people miss, because I know a couple of program directors who absolutely love Dan O'Day, but still don't get it. They think, okay, this and this and this, and then totally forget to make it their own.
Yeah,
it's so funny. You have to apply it, but from your own perspective.
Yeah.
It's not a format. It's not paint by numbers. It's art. Yeah, it's art.
That's how people tend to live. Eh? Tell me how to do something, and I will do it exactly as you tell me how to do it. But then we don't get forward in radio, because all those artists who had a teacher as a painter as a teacher, they started to do it on. Yeah, they get the skills, but they started to do it on their own way, and then something new came out of it.
But I think that's not only with video, but the example you use. I also see that in people who are, I don't know if it's true, and I don't want to offend anyone, but people who are extreme religious. You have to be self-confident to determine your own future, your path, and your own morals. But if you are really, really insecure, and I'm aware that it's not about everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that every religious person is into religion because of this, but I think in more extreme forms where there is a lot of space for you as a person. It's convenient and it's nice to have something you can grab and where you can read how to live, because you don't have to
think for yourself,
and you don't have to question yourself. You don't have to make your own moral judgments. There is something you can live by as a set of rules. And more extreme, you don't have to. You don't have to worry about making mistakes, because you have this set of rules you can follow, and that's the good path. Yeah. I think it works like that.
Have you read anything about from Valerie Geller, the big book she made?
Oh, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, that's a woman coach we have to mention, because there are not only men who coach radio talent. For DJs who are watching this, what is the biggest mistake radio jocks around the world make, you think?
I think it is that they have a certain picture of what a DJ on air talent should sound like, look like, and what the skills should be, and
fill every intro, tell what time it is.
Exactly, and how to don't use I, use you, and that's also something. You talk about you. You never say I. Well, do you say I in conversations with friends and family? It's not a problem to say, I have great tickets for you here. I mean, that's not an ego thing. It's not that people think in rules of. Not I, you have to. It's not something that is written in stone. It's about you as a person. And in a normal conversation, I probably said, during this conversation a couple of times about me, but it's not. That's not a bad thing. That's what we do, as long as you try to connect to the other, and that in this talk, that comes natural because I'm interested in you, and you are sitting as the guy who does the interview, but we are interested in each other, and then things start to flow. If you really, before you go on air, think, oh, I must avoid I must, that is going to be so contrived and forced that immediately you are, talking out of your head and not
from the heart.
Yeah, and exactly that. What happens is there is this disturbance in the connection. It prohibits you to make a connection authentically because you're thinking, okay, what's the right thing to say? What's the wrong thing to say? If you do that, with your partner or anything, you have to avoid word I. Then you get something that's so, people would look at you as you're crazy and are you my psychologist or it's not authentic anymore. So the connection, it's harder to establish a connection if you really start to think there is a good way of saying this and a bad way, and I have to think constantly about the right way. No, be yourself. Yeah. People forgive you instantly. People forgive you because there's nothing to forgive. If you are a natural, if you try to be natural, be yourself, people hear that. They won't, they won't be offended if you say the word I, or you talk too long. It's not in your head. It is really from the heart.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. We DJs have to play music. We don't pick our own music anymore when we're on radio. It's all formatted, and you also say it. We have to be ourselves on the radio. But let's say that I've been playing the same songs for over 15 years at the same station, and I cannot be enthusiastic anymore from the heart about the music I'm playing. Then you have to fake it. Fake it till you make it. You have to say, well, here's the best song ever by John Lennon. But inside you think, God damn, John Lennon, if the guy wasn't killed already, I would go out and kill him for this song. What's the thing to do? Leave the station? Is there any tips for jocks who struggle with this, that their music they're playing, they cannot be enthusiastic anymore about it?
Yeah, I find that an interesting question. It's a question I ask myself, not out of the interest, because from the point of view of an on-air talent DJ, but more as a broader perspective. Could it work if DJs were allowed to pick their own music? Would it work? Could it work nowadays in this market, especially in the Netherlands? We have such a high density of radio station, but that's really unique in the world. And could it work? I think it could work. And a couple of years ago, I discussed this with the program manager at our radio station. And if you have, if you set the marks, if you set the boundaries, I think it's possible to give people that responsibility, because what you say to your on-air talents is when you have all the music scheduled, you don't have any say in it. You say to the on-air talents, okay, you're not capable of, picking up the music, or you're not trustworthy enough, or you don't know anything about music.
You're going to play totally off format.
Exactly, and I think that's not true. I think also that the way music is being scheduled, and as in music research, and schedule only the songs that 10 out of 10 people find fantastic. There's a lot of ways where you can vary that. You can schedule the music that with songs who maybe not 10 out of 10 people, but 8 out of 10 people like it. And you can schedule it in a way that it gives far more where it sounds more variety, where it sounds more interesting. And people will listen, will stay tuned if that music is scheduled not from a perspective as a bookkeeper. Oh, I need a song from 3 minutes and 30 seconds and it has to be recurrent, blah, blah, blah. It's not from the head. It's not a bookkeeper's program. It's not one push it and okay, that's it. No, you have to hear it. You have to keep in mind the flow and what day it is. And is it Monday morning? Is it Friday afternoon? What kind of weather is it? What are the items, the bits in the show, and what presenter, what DJ? It's a flow. It's not. Music is emotion. You have to keep in mind that the flow is important. Music is emotion. It's emotion. That's music. It's not a recurrent 4-minute,
Yeah.
But it's the same with everything. Radio stations, they're more. It always it looks like that it's GRPs, marketing, DJs, and it's items, and it's not one. How do you say that? It's not a
formula.
It's not a formula, exactly. Dutch word, optelsom. I think. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's
1 + 1 is 2.
Yeah. It's all together. It's a vision. What on Holland? What were and are the most popular radio stations?
Yeah.
Why is everybody talking about Radio Veronica back in the days they were on a ship on the North Sea?
Pirate
Why
it was a movement.
Why it was a movement? It's the vision. It's the emotion. Why don't people get that everything is emotion, connection? That's the future radio.
You want to be a part of that club.
Exactly, and if you want to hear music, you can listen to Spotify, iTunes, whatever.
Yeah.
Why do people still want to listen to the radio? It's because the content, and not content I have to have great comedy. You want to have great person. I want to hear someone who I can relate to, who is authentic.
Yeah.
That's what we want to hear. And I could sing a song, and then Sting comes and sing the same songs, and I wouldn't, be able to get the emotion across, but he will.
Yeah.
It's about emotion. What really gets to us? What makes us feel something? Why are we crying with the Notebook, the movie, or why do we get, why we cry with some songs? Why do we feel when we are hurt? We are heartbroken, and every song on the radio appears to be put there and would apply to me. Now I hear all the songs are about me. That is how it works. Why can't people see it?
Okay, but how do we put the heart into the radio? That's I think what is the main question. How can station managers, program managers from all over the world bring heart to their station so it gets alive? It gets some coaches talk about stationality instead of personality. They talk about stationality. They want to bring that heart into a formula. But it starts with the love of the people who work there, I guess.
That's stationality too. I mean, the atmosphere and the end product, as in how it sounds on the radio, that begins with the program director, the program manager. It goes top down.
Yeah.
The people on top, they set the atmosphere, they set the boundaries, they are responsible for the people, for the end product. I mean, the way people interact with each other within a company is set by the one who is at the top of the pyramid. If people are insecure and people are more in that business for the status or for the money or the company car or, you know, for the business card. Oh, look, I'm a program director, I'm a CEO. If that's your goal, that means that you could be that you're very insecure. And someone who is so insecure and gets a position where he is responsible for hiring and firing